Hey, there we are. Listen, we just talked about spiral breakdown. We talked about it in the orchard the other day, and I told you guys that we'll do a session in the wrestling room. I mean the living room. So that's what we'll do right now. All right, spiral breakdown. Okay, you notice we haven't gone over a whole bunch of top work, but this is one thing. It's simple and it's easy and it flows and it's natural and it's appropriate. Okay? All right. All right. First of all, I go with a left-handed spiral. Okay? So, just for the record, this is my left hand and this is the spiral hand. This is the hand that goes, the hand and the arm and the forearm that go behind the arm. His left arm. My left arm on his left arm. Okay? And when we're talking spiral, this is the pry hand. My right hand is the pry hand. Okay? So we got my spiral hand, which is my left hand. Okay? And this is the pry bar or pry hand. It does the prying. It pushes his leg away, and I use his hip as a fulcrum. I turn my arm so that my elbow's down, and I use my hip as a fulcrum. The pry, it's part of the spiral, it's a pry. I pry, okay? I pry him to a hip. Part of the prying, part of the getting him to a hip is where we want him, by the way, on their hip or side. Okay? Yes, we can start like this too, if we want to, if we're really dead set on going spiral. And let's just say we are for now. Okay? Bang, spiral hand, pry hand. Okay? All right. And I'm gonna be, chances are I'm gonna be on my feet. Okay, driving this hard for a minute. Okay, let's just do that. Okay, so pry. This is a pry hand or pry arm. His hip as a fulcrum point. I make that arm straight. I go out on his leg and push hard back on his hip with this part of my arm. Okay, so I just wanted to get the basics here squared away. Okay. Now, the other thing with the spiral, I treat it like a cradle. It's kind of a one-time thing. Okay. Surprise is a big factor because that's why you don't want to be doing a bunch of it in warm-ups or something, or where other people can see it. Don't do it. Just be ready for them, especially before they know what's going on. Okay? So I treat it like a cradle. It's kind of a one-shot thing. If it happens, good. If it doesn't, you give up a point. No big deal. Okay? No big deal about the 1 point. All right. I think it will probably be something like this. All right. So first thing, we influence him. Okay? We influence him to his butt, to his hip, or just to his side. Okay? We influence him here so that the bottom guy ends up like this. Okay? I've influenced him to his rear end or his side. Either way. Influence means I give him a way to go and I help him go that direction. Okay? Because I know I want him on his hip. I want him on his rear end or his hip. Okay? That's where I want him. So what do I do to take care of that? Okay? this action of the spiral hand, which is sort of forward, of course, okay, and sort of around the head, but not too far around the head. Okay, this spiral hand, I like to make it a part of my body, like we talked about before. See, I like to make it a part of my body. Anytime I'm doing like this, I want to kind of keep my arms so that I'm using my whole body to do what I need to do. Okay, so not only am I driving him in a semicircle, I'm kind of driving that front arm with my spiral hand, driving that in the same direction, kind of around the head, if we can, okay? And this pry arm pries the leg with the hand part. With this part, I press out and in at the elbow area against his hip. His hip is the focal point. Okay? Spiral hand. Okay? It's up here doing its part. Not a whole lot, but like I said, to influence him to his rear end. That's what I want to do. So I take away this leg of this table here. So he really doesn't have anything over here to help. Okay? Now remember, the important thing is, one of the important things is that we forget about the bottom arm. Once we get him to a hip, if we're going to suck him back, forget about the bottom arm. Okay, we don't need that. That's just going to get in the way. Because what I'm going to ask you to do, this pry bar goes from a pry bar to a hook hand. Okay? What I was trying to do was to get him to open up his top arm. See, a lot of times if you pop him with that spiral, watch my right arm. My right arm will fly back like that. Right? It's a pretty natural movement. Okay? Now, this top arm, I'm stalking it. I'm stalking this top arm from the beginning because that's the essence of this move here. Okay? That's the essence of it. Again, I influence him to the side, to his hip, to his rear end, or whatever. I influence him. I give him a way to go, and I let him go that direction. And everything points into getting him down to his hip, whether it's the spiral hand or it's the pry, and they work together. And he's got to go to his hip. It's the only natural way for him to go. I pry out here, and then this is hard up around the head. Not real far. Just enough to keep it out of the way so he can't use it. Okay? Okay, now, once I've popped the spiral, and he's down like this, he's down on an elbow, what keeps him down is downward pressure from me, the offensive guy. And I'm on that top arm already. I've hooked it. And I put my elbow in the guy's back, and I got an underhook on his top arm that has flown back and that I've been tracking the whole time. I'm tracking the top arm. That's what I want, is the top arm. Okay? So, one important thing is once I influence him to his side, okay, and weight goes on the elbow, I don't have to worry about that arm anymore. See, this is the dynamic part. It's a loosen up to be tight kind of a thing. Loosen up to score kind of thing. Okay, so I'm tracking that top arm. Boom, it flies back. This pry hand turns into a hook hand. A hook. And I'm hooked under his arm, at the elbow, ready to wrestle, mind you. Okay? Whatever that means to you. Okay? I influence him to his rear end. The top arm flies back. I'm tracking it the whole time. I snag it. Okay? We're in the snagging stage right now with a tough underhook. And we'll have to go over underhooks. A true underhooks that we use quite a bit. We use it 3 or 4 or 5 different times or ways. Underhooking. All right, arm flies back. I boom, this pry bar goes to a hook hand on the top arm. My elbow goes in the middle of the guy's back or thereabouts, wherever it ends up. But we're hooking that underneath the top arm and we're underhooking it. Okay? Now weight is on his elbow. Let me scoot back. See, now weight is actually on his elbow. So I don't have to worry about here. I can forget about this arm and come up and work up top here. Not only are we, but we're still hooking. Okay? It's just that we don't need to do anything with this arm. Because even like this, I have enough weight on it where I couldn't really pull it out if I wanted to. Okay? So, the other important thing is we have to get out of the way. You cannot pull him into your lap. You cannot pull him into your lap like this. There's nowhere for him to go. Okay, so we have to become very athletic right here. However you have to do it. Boy, my father used to yell and scream when those kids were on both knees. Or even one knee. He wanted you on your feet. And there's nothing wrong with that. If we can get there, if we can get him where we want him, we can do whatever we want to do. All right? So I pop the spiral as a breakdown. Okay, as a breakdown. The top arm flies towards me. I get athletic, whatever that means, but I got to get out of the way. Listen, what you'll find out is that the only contact you have with the guy is on this, I'm on the top arm with the underhook. That's the only contact you need. What you need to do is get out of the way. You got the toughest hook that you could ever have. Okay, listen, the hooking needs to be hooked. Hooked here, hooked all the way around. Look how tight that's all the way around. That's a tight hook. Okay, and that's the kind of hooks we need, whether we're snapping and spinning, whether we're whatever else. Snapping on this spiral breakdown to a spiral. Okay. Important that we get out of the way. You don't want to pull them in your lap. We got to get out of the way. Okay, I get out of the way. Here I am. This is my underhook. This other hand is up here now. It doesn't have to stay on the wrist ride because we're going to focus our attention up here on his top arm. I'm going to hook it about the elbow. Okay? Remember, my arm's in his back, and I got his arm hooked at about the elbow. Remember, out of the way. Again, the hallmark of a good snap is pow, snap hard. We snap hard off the underhook. Okay, my right arm went from a pry bar to a hook hand. Boom. Now I make him part of my body. And the only contact I have with him is right up through my underhook. Right up through my underhook that is plastered to my body. So when I'm fighting, when I'm on that underhook, I'm using my whole body. See how my upper arm is glued? And I'm on the hook. And you need some room here. You got to make room. Boom, the hardest snap you can put on him. And again, there's not a man in the world that can stay up. And then you just go to whatever it's called. We used to call it a front 45. You go right into there. Okay? Now, the other thing is, this works a lot better as a surprise. So that we talked about it a minute ago. It's big with surprise. So don't be broadcasting it like during warm-ups in public or something. We can do it in the room when nobody's watching, but don't do it so everybody can see it. Because it won't be long when everybody's aware of it and they won't be going to their side or to their hip. All right? Spiral breakdown to a suckback. Actually is what it's a spiral and then it goes into blanket ride theory. I know all you guys know blanket right theory. I know that. So, but anyway, it goes from a spiral, and when I go to attack that top arm, that's creeping into the blanket ride business because we have 2 or 3 other things we do from there. Okay, I got him planted on his arm. This arm of his is underneath him. You don't have to hold it. Let go of it. You got to get brave. And if you haven't done it before, you have to go where you just have a hook, and that's the from behind. We're sucking him back now. Okay, you got to have this good, tough hook. And again, there's not a man in the world that can stay up. And you need to get the fall the first time. Because like I said, it's a surprise deal. Okay, quickly, let's go through it again. Spiral hand, okay? On the whistle, it goes kind of at this angle like that. That's where I want his arm to go, in this angle like this. So his arm is going to be right here. I'm going to use this part of my arm to bang that spiral up top. Okay, bang that spiral hand up top, and I pry calmly and carefully and incognito, pry him to his hip, and the whole time we're tracking that top arm. Okay, I want you to just catch that top arm on its way back and just clamp onto it, get out of the way, and pin the guy. Okay, that's what you got to do. Don't worry about the bottom arm. If we've spiraled him well enough, he's going to be down to here. And the minute I put weight on this elbow, it's hard for me to move. And it's real difficult to move if I'm laying like this. See, this is very difficult to move here. And this is what it looks like. This arm to be trapped by my body's weight. It traps my arm. And now this guy is attacking the top arm that's going to usually fly back. Okay, so we influence him to his rear end, or to his side, or to his rear end, and you can do it any way you want. You don't have to do it the way I told you. Just get him to a hip. That's what we want you to do, is get him to a hip, and then attack the top arm. End up in a head and arm 45, we used to call it. Okay? Spiral hand. It starts like a pry bar. And then it's like it's tracking your opponent's top arm. I'm tracking it. I'm kind of trapping it. It was here, and then it quickly goes. It turns over and turns into a hook. And you give it the toughest hook you can get it. That means clamped here, clamped here, clamped here, clamped here, clamped. This is what an underhook looks like. Tight, tough underhook. And whenever we're trying to create downward momentum, this is the kind of underhook business tie we need. Because what I do is just jump back while my arm is plastered to my upper body. It's plastered. So when I jump back and yank on him, I'm using my whole body, for a straight snap. But it's the same tough. The same tough underhook as when we were on the other side, when we're snapping and spinning. It's the same underhook. You got to be as tight and as tough as you can be with it. Okay, and remember, we're tracking that top arm from the get. Okay, because we know what's going to happen. And don't let it happen and then do it. Do it before it happens and then do it. So think about it. Only one thing's going to happen. He's going to flop to his rear end. That's the only thing that's going to happen. Unless you've already sucked him back once, and then he would be aware. Okay? So we influence him to the rear end. We got to get out of the way, or we'll pull him right in our lap, and it'll look silly. We got to get confidence in this tough underhook. To whereas when it comes right down to it, this is the only contact that I have with him. The only contact I have. And he's not going to go anywhere. Okay, I'm stalking that top arm from the beginning. It flies back. The offensive guy attacks it. That right arm turned from a pry bar into a hook hand. And we snap on that underhook and get it as tight and as solid as we can. make it, again, with most underhooks, make it a part of your body. And then just use your whole body. It's like it grew a hook right here. Boom, boom. Okay, boom. Good grip, good tight grip all the way on that top arm, just below the elbow again. My elbow's in his back. I attacked just above his elbow. Okay? I get out of the way. I introduce him to the mat with this underhook. Okay, just stay on this underhook. You don't have to be grabbing anything else or even next to him. You got to, in fact, the further you get away from him, probably the better you are, as long as you keep this tight underhook. Okay? Remember, you got to get out of the way. You do not want to drag him into your hip, into your hips, into your lap. Don't do it. Get out of the way. And it all happens, obviously, it all happens simultaneously. Just because I talk about it in segments or whatever, it all happens together. That whole thing should take about a half a second. From the time the referee blows the whistle until we get our unknowingly partner to his back and we pin him, see. Again, get out of the way. The toughest hook you can get, and flow. When you're getting out of the way, flow. Okay? And don't wait until he's sitting on his rear end and you're kind of underhooked. This is one of the ones that works better sooner than later. We're tracking that top arm from the beginning, and he's already on his way to his back, and he probably doesn't even know it. See? He thinks he's good. So he thinks he's a tough guy. So, but there's no way. If he goes to his rear end, even knowingly knowing that we know how to suck people back, say. Knowing that. So, I think that's enough for now, but okay, that's the number one option. We have 2 or 3 other things that we like to do off that. And it's called cutting them off at the pass. It's what my dad used to call it. But I think I should let you guys absorb that, and I'll probably do some more on this because it's pretty important. Remember, we use it like a cradle. We give it our best go, and if he's man enough to stay out of trouble, I say more power to him. But there's not many that will, especially if we catch him by surprise. Don't talk about the suck back. Only amongst your teammates. Don't. It's such a surprise deal that just keep it hush-hush and everything's quiet until it isn't, and we get a fall. All right, like I said, I think I'll take a little break myself, and I'll see about coming back for tonight. This won't do me any good, but we're going over to Grants Pass tomorrow. I'm doing some work for Table Rock Sports. If you guys have an extra hour and a half, check in with Table Rock Sports. Joe Brett down at Table Rock Sports, and he gives us the opportunity to live stream high school wrestling in the area down here in Southern Oregon. So thanks to Pete Del Castro and Joe Brett and all the guys I worked with in the last few years. So we're at Grants Pass, but the problem is there's no spectators, I think. By the time you guys see this, it'll be Monday or Tuesday of next week, because I'm going to be busy tomorrow and then church on Sunday. So, all right, my friends, don't forget about subscription. Get your friends, you subscribers, get your friends to subscribe. Viewers, get your viewer friends, get them involved. We're rolling. We're barely getting started, but we're rolling. Don't forget that. Straight out of Phoenix. Virtual year-round wrestling camp. First one of its kind. All right, my friends. Thanks for swinging by. Bye now.